Even though it only forms about 2% of India's total retail spending, e-commerce is a sector that's fast catching up. Enabling and empowering this very industry are companies like the Vinculum Group. And today we have with us the founder and CEO of the group, Mr. Venkat Nott. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Ani.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Sir, your company has a history and has a lot of experience in creating startups and then taking them to a level of global success. So, if I may ask you, how has your experience been till now?
We are in a fascinating space because if you look at what we do as a company, we are, fundamentally, we are a software company who sits in the middle of the e-commerce ecosystem. So if you look at any of the players selling online, whether these are sellers and marketplaces, whether it is online brands, whether it is retailers themselves who are trying to sell online strategically, each of them are looking at cloud-based solutions which can enable them to grow domestically and internationally. Now what we have done is to create an integration platform which integrates to marketplaces. For example, in India, all the marketplaces you can think of, Snapdeal, Amazon, Flipkart, LimeRoad, ShopClues, etc. And marketplaces outside India, means we are present in Southeast Asia. So these are countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China. So there are marketplaces in each of these countries, like there's a We Love Shopping, there is a Tarot.com, there is someone called Vinculum in Vietnam, there is Alibaba, which is of course well known, Lazada and Zalora in the region. Now why I'm naming these is, what we provide is the connectors to each of these marketplaces in the different countries and the Middle East countries and in US. So there are global marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, etc. But we are also integrated to the local niche marketplaces. So when you look at what we are essentially doing, marketplaces, front-end platforms, 3PLs, financial systems, we are integrated to each one of them. So we are sitting in the middle with a powerful integration layer and then offering cloud-based software solutions for order management, fulfillment primarily. So what this does is anybody selling online, by working with us, is able to sell domestically into many channels. They can also go internationally into 60-odd countries sitting in India. So that's the power of what we are trying to do. And since we are doing this on a global scale, the opportunity is immense. Means we are not really bothered about someone not doing well or a particular market temporarily being down. So it's a fascinating opportunity that we are in. I would say there is not many players attempting this on a global scale. We are lucky to be backed by very powerful investors like Axel Partners and IVCAP, who have been backing us all the way, and that really puts us in a good position to be able to replicate what we have learned in the Indian market into other markets. Today we are well known in Southeast Asia. We do expect to see a similar progress in Middle East and US as well.
I'm sure that will happen soon as well. Now, some of us have heard the term SaaS recently, which is a newer concept. If you could elaborate on how the business model works.
So when we say SaaS, SaaS is software as a service. So see, historically, when you look at the big companies in the market, they have been license-based companies. These are companies like Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, etc. Yes. So what that means is every customer who buys their products will have to have a physical installation, and you will have to physically go and do the product implementations. And post implementations, you need a team to support it, and you also need them to be able to come and give you updates, kind of thing.
Plus, you need to pay a hefty amount for it.
And of course, you're paying a lot of money because it is it is individually owned, right? So in some ways, you can think of it as there is a similarity to lease purchase. But then the beauty of SaaS is that you have a single instance sitting in a cloud environment like Amazon Web Services, which is what we use to host our products. Now, Amazon Web Services is a technology leader. They're very secure environment. So instead of us building big servers, we use their servers to keep our software there. Now, what it means is each instance of software can be used by multiple customers at the same time. So that's what does that do to the customers? They are getting all the implementations very quickly on the cloud itself. So there's no need for physically people to go and do long implementations. And even if there is a very complex environment, large enterprises, the workshops or the implementation cycles are very rapid. So which is a huge difference. We are talking between 6 months and 6 weeks, 6 months and 6 days. So we have many versions of the software. So we have an express version which is targeted at small and medium enterprises, people who are sellers in the marketplace, where the implementation is literally instantaneous. So I
remember recently discussing with one of my seniors at work. We needed an editing software, and it was available even for 1 day on lease. We could just pay like maybe $20 or $100 or whatever amount of money and just hire it for a day. So that was something very new for us.
That's very interesting, of course. But here, what we are doing, of course, is business critical. Yes. So we do hope that people don't turn it off in a day. And it's not easy for them to do so either. Okay. Yeah. Of course, when I say it's not easy, means once you get used to a good thing, you don't want to go away from it. But where I'm really talking about is the implementation is rapid. So there are a lot of terms I can talk about, technical terms, it doesn't really help. But you don't need to you don't need to do long workshops. You don't need high-level design documents. You don't need to do a big code development. None of that is required here. Means because it's all ready. The integrations are ready. The basic product is ready. All you're doing is configuring it and deploying it. And the Express product, many customers go live in a matter of minutes, and literally matter of minutes. It's like opening a Gmail username and password. You have opened your username and password, you have updated your data on an Excel sheet, off you go. So it's as fast as that for the smaller people. Even the bigger companies, we're talking of something which is 80% faster. And since it is a shared kind of a product release, so what you're really talking about is, even from an implementation TCO perspective, it's 5 times cheaper. So which is a massive thing, and you're paying on the as you go. So literally most of our solutions are monthly based models. So we have a variety of products, but each one of them is either user based on a monthly basis, or it is an order based on a monthly basis. So they do more orders, we get more monthly income. They don't do well, actually that means that we also don't get paid much. So it's a very direct correlation, and we also cap it at, if there is somebody doing phenomenally well, you cap it at a certain stage, so that they don't feel that they're being it becomes more logical for them to go and develop something themselves.
It is absolutely amazing. Now when we see a traditional retail company becoming or transitioning into an online company, which is happening most of these days, then what are the kind of challenges that the company has to face, and how do you think the company should tackle them?
See, when you talk of a retailer going online, so there are 2 aspects to it. Okay, now why does a retailer go online? One is because the customers today are very technology savvy. True. Most people, if you take I think everyone has a mobile or 2, in fact, and everybody shops online. It doesn't really matter what personal incomes are, etc. Everybody is comfortable using a phone, and online is there as a given today. Now, if retailers want to even sustain, they have to have a channel to be able to offer their products online. So clearly the customers need it. The customers demand convenience. Customers demand all kinds of flexibility. I would want to look up the inventory before I go to the store. And I want a Nike shoe, or I want a let's say a Van Heusen shirt. I want to make sure that the particular model that I'm looking for, or a particular shade I'm looking for, my size, is available in the store. So it's, of course, it doesn't mean that people don't love shopping in the stores. They do. In my view, retailers have a great base and have a great chance to succeed even more than the online players. But culturally, they have been slow to adopt. But now there is absolutely no question. They have to be there. So customers demand it. So what do you do? I mean, so one is to build your base of customers, to build loyalty with your existing customer base, to identify new customers for your products. You have to be online. So the whole idea of the conveniences I spoke about, whether I'm able to look up inventory before I go, whether I go to a store, I don't find a product, the sales associate directs me saying that, okay, the next store has it, I'll reserve it for you, you pay now, you can go pick it up. Yeah. Or he can say that I'll send the product to your house or your office, just do the transaction, within 2 days it comes to you. I buy online, return in store. I buy in one store, return in the other. I want all kinds of conveniences. I might shop online and I can do my research online and shop in the store. I might research in the store and go back and sit down with a cup of coffee and shop online. See, the thing is that means today customers want that flexibility. So to
provide that flexibility, what are the kind of challenges that the retailers will face when they transition?
So so there are many things that they need to think about. One is, I was just coming to that. One is fundamentally, you need to have a clear view of the inventory in the store. So what happens is, if today, again, going back to the, I'm painting a lot of the big boys as the bad boys, but not necessarily. But many of these products don't give real-time view of inventory. Means even the big products, they update on a batch information once in a day. Now imagine, let's say you are buying a Gucci bag and you have purchased it online, and they have told you that you can go to this XYZ store and pick it up, and you had to go for a lunch, or you had some work to do, and after you're driving down to the shop in the afternoon and say, hey, I bought my Gucci bag, here is my receipt, can I pick it up? And the guy says, sorry ma'am, it's out of stock.
Ouch.
think about what happens there. Yeah, because what has happened there is, in the time between you purchasing it and you going to pick it up, somebody might have bought it. So the moment the purchase happens online, it has to be reserved for you. So that means you need real-time view of the inventory. So you need to know on a minute basis there are 3 Gucci bags left there, and 1 is for Veena, right? That has to be and it has to be kept nicely packed for you. And look at the other experience where you walk in and they know you by name. They welcome you, saying that, ma'am, please come in. We have your item ready for you. Would you like a cup of coffee while you wait? And then they give you a beautiful gift-wrapped Gucci bag to you, and you drive out. Think about the experience there versus the other one where you find that the bag is out of stock. So that's a first and fundamental problem that retailers face, real-time view of inventory. Now, the other problem is, a lot of the things I spoke about are not exactly easy to achieve. It requires significant investment in process changes. People at the store need to be trained to receive Miss Veena when she comes with a Gucci bag, right? Vani, sorry, Vani. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah. To receive you, they have to be trained, and that is a investment. So each of the store associates and the people in the store, it is a new way of doing the work. So that's one training there. The second thing is, they need to make technological investments to get the real-time view of inventory. So technological investments in terms of order management. The third thing is, if you say that you want it delivered at your residence, you may be staying in a location where their regular couriers or regular transportation doesn't ply. So what do you do there? So you have to tie up with external logistics companies to be able to deliver to your place at the time you prefer. So these are some of the challenges that people face in terms of processes, people, and technology investments. Now that brings us to a separate question, but is there less risky ways of achieving this? So some of the things that we've been advocating retailers is to consider collaborating with other players in the ecosystem. You could sell on marketplaces, which could give you additional revenue. you could become a fulfillment center for marketplaces. What does that mean is, let's say I buy something on Amazon, and Amazon says it takes you for 1 week to receive it. But Amazon says, but if you want this item now, it's available in these 3 stores near your neighborhood. You can pick it up. Now I say, okay, I'll go to X store near my residence. Immediately what Amazon does is they send a purchase order to the retailer. The retailer then packs it and keeps it for me.
Keeps it reserved for you.
I then go pick it up. So what happens, you got a happy customer who has got his product immediately. The marketplace has saved on money. And because of the shipping charges, they've saved. And the partner retailer, he gets a new walk-in. Maybe I'll go and shop something else. So he's very happy to, and anyway, he's getting additional revenue. So all the 3 elements, there's a big win. So that's something which is beautiful. Retailers have the opportunity to be a fulfillment center or to be a collaboration partner for marketplaces. The same thing can apply to brands as well. So if you look at, let's say I'm a Van Heusen corporate, and I have many retail chains who are partners to me, and I also have exclusive stores. If there is an online order coming to me, I potentially can offer the same service, saying that you can go to this channel partner or a multi-branded outlet, pick up your shirt from there. So again, that would mean additional footfall for that multi-brand outlet. It would be immediate delivery for me, and for the corporate, that means that you have a more happy customer. So these are some of the things in which you can add revenue. Those additional revenue can go back to plowing into your omni-channel initiatives, because it's a serious investment. You've got to find ways to profitably do it.
Absolutely. But how do you think this entire industry, the e-commerce industry, which is relatively new, how do you think it's shaping up in a country like India?
See, going back to that fundamental point, right, means the customers demand it. People don't have a choice. Companies don't have a choice. They have to cater to the customers. See, e-commerce, of course, is not new. Let's look at it from a different angle, right? What is happening to rentals and real estate? There may be a little occasional blip here and there, but in general, costs are going up. Wages are going up. When you look at retailers, the cost of setting up a retail outlet is not minuscule. Every store is a serious investment, and the margins are very thin. What online gives you, if you can do it intelligently, is a lesser expensive method to open a new channel. But you have to treat it as opening stores. You have to patiently build it up. I mean, you're not going to open a store and say, I'm going to shut it in 2 months. And you're not going to say that I'll only put a little amount of money, hopefully orders will come. It doesn't work that way, does it? Yes. It's the same thing in online. You've got to look at it as a strategic channel. If you do that, the customers are there to buy it. And think about it, the more and more younger the crowd is, the more savvy that they are in terms of mobiles and gadgets. Absolutely. And things like that. They're not going to sit and only shop in the store. So you have to segment your market, but there is enough opportunity for e-commerce to be there forever.
And when we talk about e-commerce, how does your company, how does Vinculum come into the picture? How does Vinculum help the e-commerce companies scale up their operations?
Like I mentioned in the beginning, so the powerful piece of what we do is the integration layer. So we are essentially creating an inexpensive or an interesting functional mechanism to be able to collaborate with marketplaces, to be able to, when we tie up with logistics companies, marketplaces, web stores, financial systems, which means from a tech footprint, we have basically have the whole problem sorted for anyone selling online. So this is for smaller companies or for the humongous big multi-billion-dollar retailers. So we have customers who are very large as well. So essentially what we have is a stack of software tools, means all the tools that we have, whether it's order management, whether it is warehousing. So the warehousing piece is interesting as well. We also cater to the third-party logistics companies. In fact, in India, if you look at it, we work with many big players. We work with Ecom Express, we work with Holisol, we work with Glaucus Logistics, we also have one of the we started off with DHL Blue Dart as well. So when you look at there are many others, I'm not naming all of them. There are quite a few. In fact, we signed a customer called Next SCM recently. So when we look at the kind of logistics companies, these are all people who are tapping into the e-commerce market. When I spoke about the people selling online, that's one part of the story. The second part of the story is logistics company who are fulfilling. So each of these guys also, the B2C operations, like I was alluding to the fact that the customers live in widespread geographies. You have to inexpensively be able to reach those customers. Yes. So which means the logistical requirements of e-commerce are significantly different from B2B. So we have solutions to cater to both B2B and B2C from a warehousing and fulfillment perspective as well. So the order management for the people selling online, the warehousing systems for the people delivering these goods, the third-party logistics companies, and we have the full stack for a marketplace itself, which is actually interesting. I don't think there's any product company out there in the market, not here globally, who have the full technological footprint for a marketplace to go ahead. So the seller center or the seller panel is something which marketplaces use to onboard sellers. So we have a seller panel which is very, very rich in functionality. So if a new marketplace comes online, they can take the seller panel to onboard the sellers. Means typically when people build it, most people custom build it. So it takes a significant amount of 9 months to 12 months to develop it. So we give a serious time to market advantage there because it's already built and it's designed for online marketplaces. The next point there is we have a cataloging tool. Let's say we have five suppliers selling the same product to a marketplace. Let's say I'm selling a iPhone, let's say. There are 5 sellers, each one will send a different image of the product. And each one will have certain attributes written down there.
Yes.
So as far as I am concerned, I just want to see what model it is. I want to see how much storage is there so that I can keep pictures, etc. up to the limit I want. Then I want to know what's the price. I want to know when it's going to come. And I want to know who the seller is, if he is reliable. These are the only 5 parameters for me. I don't care about what stories people write. So what we have is a cataloging tool which takes away multiple images and just keeps a single image for all the equivalent products. It irons out all these different attributes into a unique golden master, if you may say that, for the iPhone. So if anybody is selling iPhone, the image will be the same. The same attributes will get populated so that you know, okay, I'm buying the same product. I know that this seller is cheaper, but he's not reliable. This seller is cheaper, but he is going to send me in 6 weeks. This seller is cheap, he is reliable, and he is going to deliver next day. I would go for him. So for me to do that, it's a big plus for the consumer. So we have solved that through a tool called WinMDM, which is essentially a cataloging tool. It's a master data management or a product information management tool. But you understand the use case. So that's very powerful for a marketplace. So many marketplaces use us for that. And that's a very interesting tool. So if you look at it, people selling online, people fulfilling these online orders, and the marketplaces themselves. So the order management, the warehousing, the seller panel, and the cataloging tool. And that's literally the full stack. If I can put digital marketing and analytics to it, that's a complete stack for the marketplace.
And it is absolutely amazing.
And each one of these is modular. You don't need to take the full stack. So we have customers, we have a marketplace who uses only for integrations. So they have in-house systems, but they want to partner with third-party logistics companies, and they don't want to build the integrations. We are giving just the integration layer to them. So we again charge them on the order, but for them, it's a clear 12 to 16 month time which is saved, and a lot of people who can focus on their main business. Similarly, each of these other systems, you can pick just either the module or a full suite. So that again is very powerful for people. So I think when you look at it, we literally are at the middle of the whole thing. We're not really saying that we will work with one segment of customers, etc. We are basically building the wires to connect each one of these players to collaborate with one another.
Great. You talked about challenges that a retailer faces when he transitions into the online industry. If I talk about it in the context of India, do you think there are some extra challenges that the companies have to face in the Indian context?
Well, I won't call it extra challenge. It's not unique. I mean, consumers' demand is similar in different. I mean, there are nuances in each country, but customer expectations broadly it's still there. I mean, that's at different levels of that curve. Some people are technological. Some countries are technologically a little slower. Some are much faster in phone. So infrastructure challenges are not bad. It has to improve in India, of course, but there's a lot of investment which has gone in. So a lot of VC investment has gone in for getting the e-commerce fulfillment in place. So there is a lot of very heavily venture-backed companies who are present in the Indian market. And if I go back to the retailers, the biggest question is, if people are if you're a critical mass, you have a lot of cash, you go on the omni-channel strategy of trying to give consistent experience to the customers. But if you are not willing to deploy a lot of money, you have to unlock some of the revenue streams. You got to find ways to inexpensively try out. Selling on marketplaces is a inexpensive way to get things wrong. What I mean by that is the cost of making a mistake is very small. You can try, see if it works, what are the operational challenges, fix it. See, because customers hate it when there are problems, going back to the Gucci bag, right? If things like that happen, the customer is lost forever. He's not going to come back and shop, or she's not going to come back and shop. So you got to figure out operationally how to get this working nicely. You got to find ways to fund it. Now the other thing is, retailers, in spite of the fact that they have a great customer base, one of the fundamental things is they think store, because that's how they are. That's the primary thing. Yeah. So, but you got to, from a DNA mindset, you got to think a little different when it comes to the online world, because you're talking of matrices which are different. You're talking of how many people are coming into your site, who is dropping out, how do you target the guys who come and don't buy. So there are remarketing tools, there are tools for, you got to have bloggers writing about you. You got to get crowd into your site. So it's unlike a store where I'm not saying just because you put a store people will come, but people will walk into the store. You will send pamphlets, you will advertise. Here you got to find ways in which you are getting into the psyche of the customer. So there is a different method to do this, and there is a learning curve there. So retailers will have to bring on certain additional team members who have that mindset and who have that knowledge. So if they don't do it, if they try to do it the traditional way, then again there is a chances of failure there. Of course, from a technology and supply chain perspective, the brick and mortar retailers are very knowledgeable, and you have fantastic people out there. So I don't see, in fact, we had a webinar series with ET Retail today, where we had someone called Ravi Gururaj from Wildcraft. Very knowledgeable. There's nothing which will phase an individual like that, and there are enough strong CIOs and technology leaders in the market. So I don't see that as a challenge, but I do see this investment into creating team with the right DNA is required for you to succeed on.
And when we talk about the government, how do you think the Indian government can intervene and help the e-commerce companies scale up?
I think in terms of legislation, there are things that the government is already doing, and there are some steps expected from the government. Infrastructure-wise, I think there is more which can be done. But I won't say that the government is lacking. I would say the things which you want to do is to really, the taxation loss is possibly where one would expect a little bit more focus and make it easier for e-commerce companies to succeed. And I would say that's really it. Otherwise, I don't think anything is stacked against the players playing online. There are some nuances, of course, in terms of FDI, which I think, look, India is a big country, and you got to cater to different bandwagons there. So I won't, but I don't think it's really negative. It's going in the right direction.
It's going in the right direction and absolutely positive. And I must say that Gucci bag is still there in it's on my mind now. But never mind, it was such a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Nott. Thank you so much for sparing your time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I enjoyed it as much.